Welcome back to another episode of Uncommon Wealth. Today's guest has spent his career studying how companies create predictable revenue. Brandon Bornancin is the founder and CEO of Seamless.AI. He's a sales leader, author, has a new book coming out, speaker, and entrepreneur who's built one of the most recognized companies in the sales intelligence and revenue technology area. But this conversation today is not simply about building a business, right? We talk about uncommon wealth. It's about what happens when the business succeeds at a level that changes your identity, your personal balance sheet, your responsibilities, and the future of your family. Brandon, welcome to Uncommon Wealth.
Hey man, super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad you're on, man. So glad we could finally make this happen. So
For sure.
People see the company, Seamless.ai. It's around, it's been around, it's a player in the industry. The platform, they see your books, and the name of your new book is?
Scale Your Sales, How to Turn Prospects into High-Paying Customers and Make $100 million in revenue, essentially. To make $100 million is just the title. And I wrote that book because so many, we've got almost 2 million people that use our software every day. So many people were asking me, how did you scale to over $250 million in sales? And I was kind of got sick of just sharing the same story over and over again, where I'm like, okay, let's put this into a book. We'll share in 6 parts. Part 1 is all operating principles, habits, mindset. Part 2 is prospecting. Part 3 is pitching, like how to do sales discovery, pitching. Part 4 is sales objections. So there's typically 15 main sales objections in every deal. Sales is part of everything you do in life. Everything you do in life is a sale, and everything you get is a commission. And then it's part 5 is closing. And then part 6, which I learned a lot from my private equity firm, is scaling. How to get the data, the technologies, the playbooks, the processes, the systems all connected to scale from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 and what we've done over $250 million in sales. In Stripe, I show you the screenshots. A lot of people fake the Lambos and the jets. And I'm like, hey, here are my Stripe screenshots. Here are my bank accounts. Boom, boom. This is all real. This is what we've done. And the book kind of shows you exactly how we did it from my experience and our experience. So it's a unique perspective.
Love it, man. Well, take us back to the version of Brandon who existed before any of that, right? Who were you trying to prove, or what were you trying to prove in those early years?
Yeah, I think it all started for me when I was in high school. My mom and dad were pretty broke, always got made fun of. And I had a girlfriend whose parents made her break up with me because we were of a lower class.
No kidding.
Came from a lower class. And I think ever since then, it was I'm never gonna let someone count me out because of my financial status or what I can do or how smart I am and how much I make. And that really drove me from then on. That happened freshman, sophomore year of high school. That kind of drove me to work. I always wanted to work hard and make money, but experiences like that, grade school, getting made fun of for a garage sale clothes, my mom cutting coupons every Saturday and Sunday out of the newspaper. She would spend 5 hours cutting coupons. That shit just drove me nuts. And I got to kind of see 2 different perspectives. My mom was always financially scared, scarcity mindset, have to save every dollar. The world's going to end. We may not have any more money, and she'd go and cut these coupons and buy 30 loaves of bread and 50 toothpaste because you got $1 off the product, et cetera, and garage clothing. And then my dad was the exact opposite. My dad was a big dreamer, optimist, there's tons of opportunity out there. I just got to figure out how to do it. And he went from construction and working at Macy's to then getting into software sales. And then our lives started to change. He got into software sales. And I saw us go from broke to upper class. And that was really an awesome experience. The interesting part though, my dad was always stressed. He was always stressed with sales, took one of the first companies public in software called CA Technologies right after Microsoft went public. The first B2B software company to go public. And he was always stressed out of his mind. Always told me hated sales, don't get into sales, whatever. And then eventually I launched a few companies in college, that did well, like $12 million. And then another one lost $4 million and went bankrupt. And then I quit entrepreneurship, got into sales, selling for IBM and Google. And then when I was selling for them, just saw a bunch of manual work that like took 75% of my time selling, and wanted to automate it with AI and search engine. And then that's how I built my current company, Seamless. So I think success was just something I always wanted to have. And like the ability to just not have to rely, like not be chained or rely on like anything or anyone to achieve something.
Bro, and it's hard to say hear from your dad, don't get into sales, when that's the thing that you saw bring your family from the economic level that you guys were at to a different economic level.
Yeah, I think so. Here was the problem with my dad, and he knows this. Like I speak the truth about everything. So when my dad finally made money, I think that he was so worried about what other people thought. So he lived like to the max. So if he's making 250 to 500K a year, he's burning all the cash, big house, expensive cars, expensive vacations, expensive stuff for me and me and my sister when we finally made it. Like he was so broke for so long that when I think he finally was able to start making money, he lived like extreme. So then what happens is like, just like typically in sales, every 3 to 5 years, he'd be working, get laid off. Then we'd be super broke. Then he'd get a new job, working for 5 to 10 years, get let go, or the company makes a transition, and then you're broke, like, because he was out of a job for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever, until he finds a new sales leadership gig. So his stress level, I think, was like, he was the only provider. When he started making money, my mom didn't work anymore. She was just like a stay-at-home wife. And I think that put a lot of financial stress on him, plus having to keep up with the Joneses, which trying to impress everyone, I think cost him a lot of money. Like he really cared about what a lot of people thought. And which was a great lesson for me. Like going from, like I remember like them, through a tough time when he got laid off, like they repoed my sister's car. And I mean, like my wife, who like this was back in college, like they're coming and they're repoing her car. Like they're, because we're behind on payments. So it's been a wild, like broke, successful, broke, successful, broke, successful. And learned a lot of lessons. Like just don't care about what people think. And just like less is more.
Yeah, I mean, you touched
Which
on
I actually learned that after I sold a part of my company and I started to buy a bunch of shit. Like that lesson, I always lived that lesson when I was on my own. Like in college, like family basically moved to the West Coast. I was always on my own, running my own companies or working on my own. And like always lived, I don't know if it's humble, but like whatever I made, I would spend like half of what I make and then save the rest. Like I just knew it'd be smart to save a lot. But then when I finally sold a part of my company, I had to learn that lesson again, because then I got private jets, houses, cars, and that shit took less about taking my money. It took all of my time away from actually doing what I love, which is building companies, helping people, transforming people's lives. So it was a tough second lesson to learn later on in life.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. You experienced business success at a relatively young age, and you also experienced what it felt like to lose, what you had built. Mm-hmm. So what did losing money teach you that making money never could?
Man, I think losing a lot of money, like, my freshman, sophomore, junior year, I ran Free 50 Now. I launched this online poker company because I figured out a way to convince Party Poker, Full Tilt Poker, Poker Stars to pay me $150 per player to sign up for their site. Per player means that they have to make a $50 deposit. So I negotiated these deals with these poker companies. And then I'd also negotiate like a 1 to 10K bonus per 10 players that I signed. So then I'm a freshman. This is like 18, 19 years old at Ohio University. at the time was the number one party school in the nation. That's why I went there. And it was like the big poker rage. Poker, like all my friends, my guy friends, everyone was playing a ton of poker. So then I just realized I could recruit these people and join the poker sites, get paid $150, and I would give them $50 to sign up. So I just knock on your dorm room. Hey, John, it's like, look, John, do you like playing poker? You're like, yeah, I like playing poker. Cool. Dude, I'm going to give you $50 right now to join PokerStars for free right now. All you need to do is sign up. You got to make a deposit. I'm going to give you it in cash. You get to play for free. And if you need anything, let me know. Everyone was doing that deal. So it went from hundreds of people to thousands of people on campus. Then I hit every dorm room and had to go like national, different colleges. So I stood up a bunch of landing pages. And that's what scaled from 0 to 12 million over those 3 years. But then President Bush in 2007 made it illegal to gamble online in the US. So it just stopped.
Ouch.
Like World Series of Poker, all this shit just stopped. And it was ironic because the week after it stopped, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I knew poker was over because I wasn't going to go global or international, and I wasn't going to move to fucking
Monte
Anguilla.
Carlo.
Yeah, like where these sites live. Like they're in these sketchy British Virgin Islands. Like I wasn't going to leave college to go move there and keep running the company. So I just stopped. It just like shut down. It just stopped. Like it stopped making money, and I had a ton of money in reserves, like 4 to 5 million in reserves. So then I get a text message from Mark Zuckerberg from the Facebook at the time on my flip phone, the Facebook. So I get a text message from Zuckerberg from the Facebook. You've got a new friend request. And I was like, holy shit. That was the first marketing text message I've ever received in 2007. I'm like, text message marketing is going to be the future for companies to communicate with anyone in the world at any time. So I built a text message marketing software company called InMobile. Today, it would be the equivalent to Twilio. Twilio is like a big text message phone company.
Yeah.
I tried to build that in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. And trying to build that company, built the software, but no one would buy it from me. Like it actually failed because I didn't know how to do B2B selling over the course of 4 years. So lost everything, went bankrupt. And at that time, like you really figure out who you're made of because you've got nothing. You're a loser. And you just have to be like positive, coachable, hungry, and do whatever it takes. Like I've got a book, The Power of Going All In. I've got a book called Whatever It Takes. Like these operating principles, especially in whatever it takes, is like, during tough times, like, tough people will outlast tough times, and just applying these different principles to get through it. That's what you need to do.
Were you a little ahead of your time when you built that technology?
Yeah, totally. The technology was too ahead of the time. I was too young, like, because there were competitors with like 40, 50, 35-year-olds. Like, it's very hard to go into Starbucks. Like, so I lived in Columbus when I built the company. I tried to go to like Victoria's Secrets, the Wexner brands. Like, there's a ton of e-commerce companies here that could use text message marketing. Abercrombie. When I would go and pitch these brands and these agencies, they like think it's cool that this 21-year-old built this tech. They're like, I'm not going to write you $1 million check. Like you're like 7 people out of a little like dorm room office space. So I think it was a mix of too early, couldn't get the trust in us and the tech. And also if I was better at B2B sales, I probably could have closed them on buying, but I was bad at B2B sales. So I couldn't convince them to overcome that objection. You're too young, blah, blah, blah. Like, I could easily overcome that now. Whether it works or not, I'm not sure. Like, but yeah.
Did you accept the friend request?
Well, he didn't actually. So Zuckerberg didn't send me a friend request from him. It was like the Facebook giving me like, Sarah sent you a friend request.
Oh, got you.
Ronnie sent you a friend request. Yeah. I wish Zuckerberg, hit me up directly.
So when someone's built wealth, someone's lost it, and then rebuilt it again, how does that change the way you or they should define safety?
Yeah, I think like safety is kind of like a bullshit theme. Like I think like the thing that I learned going broke and just throughout my life is like the biggest return you will ever make is investing in yourself. So everything that happened to me, I would try to figure out, like I'd have to do a deep, extreme ownership audit of what did I mess up? What was I missing? What wasn't there that allowed me to grow, whether it's me, my business, whatever. So I think like early on, I learned like, okay, so then when I got my first sales job at IBM Interactive, I was like, after I quit entrepreneurship, after the poker company and in mobile, I'm like, I'm never going into entrepreneurship ever again. Fuck this. I'm just like, what's the next best thing that has no risk and the highest upside? Sales. Cool. Okay. If I want to go to sales, like what's the easiest company to sell for? What's the biggest company to sell for? At the time, it was like the number one tech company is IBM, like IBM. So in 2012, 2013, applied to a bunch of tech companies, and I really want to get into IBM Interactive, and because the IBM Interactive is like the digital software arm of IBM, and I believed that online software was going to be huge and be the future, and I was betting on that, and it was, which was great. So ironically, like when I got there, I quickly realized, okay, in mobile failed because I didn't know sales. I'm going to go start reading all of the books on how to be good at selling. And then like my first day driving into the office, I stopped at Kinko's at the time. Anyone that doesn't know what Kinko's is, it's like a printer shop. It's like what's another good example of Kinko's?
Well, it's a FedEx now, right? You walk into a FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx, Kinko's. There's another shipping company that's got stuff like that. I forget.
UPS, maybe?
UPS, some like all of those.
Yeah.
And I remember going into Kinko's at the time, and Kinko's FedEx, and they've got these like large stands of books. And I'm going through the books because I had to like print out my resume and some other bullshit. And I like saw these sales books, and I saw like smartphone or smart calling. I saw selling to big companies, and I saw another one, and I just bought like all three. And those were the first real sales books that I bought. And I started reading them when I started my job. And then I saw like my revenue start to increase because I started learning these tricks and strategies. And I was like, okay. So like to get back to like your point, I believe like to be safe, the number one thing that would give you the highest ROI is investing in yourself. Like deep audit on who you are, where you're at, X, what are you missing to get to Y? And then fill that with the knowledge or the mentorship and the technology to go from X to Y. So it's like current state, dream state. Typically, the thing stopping you from current state to dream state is a lot of pain, problems, challenges. The best way to overcome those and achieve your goals, dreams, desires at the dream state, X to Y, is to like gain that knowledge and invest in yourself, whether it's the tech, the knowledge, or the mentorship to get to where you want to go. And then that's just what I did. And I always believe like my mom would be like, oh, we got to save every penny. So I think that's why I say like, oh, safety's bullshit. Like I believe saving is important. I believe investing is more important than saving. Like saving, keeping money in a bank account, like it makes like 0.001%, but like investing in the markets, all the markets on average, if you just did the main stock indexes, the Dow, the S&P, the composite, there's one more, like they averaged like anywhere from 9 to 12% a year. So I believe put your money into markets and into investment vehicles and into yourself. But to make any money and to keep growing money, you have to go all in on like your knowledge and your health, your wealth. I believe there's really like 5 pillars. It's like your mindset, your health, your wealth, your finances, and your relationships. Yeah. And when you hit all 5 of those, like you're like free.
So you kind of touched about it. You moved into corporate sales, right? You were succeeding at a high level because you were investing in yourself, you were improving yourself, you were refining it. And that's where you started to identify a problem, right? And that problem ultimately became Seamless. correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your wife put, she kind of pushed you to go all in on that, right? So talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, look, my first sales job, I was making 50K a year. I was 60K a year. I think it was like 60K and $50 an appointment and like 1% a deal. Use the knowledge to get up to a few 100K a year. But then when I automated my prospecting, like the 75% of time that I was wasting on list building, searching for contacts at these companies, trying to get their emails, their phone numbers, data on the contacts and companies, when I automated all of that, I went from making a few 100K to making $1 million a year. That was when I was selling for Google and the search agency. And when that happened, like I did that for a few years selling for the Google search agency. That's when like everyone was asking me like, what the hell are you doing? You're like 5X to 10X to quota. How the hell are you doing this? No one's ever done this before. So, I had people at my company trying to buy what I built off of me. And then I sold it to them. And then I would sell it to other people in my industry because they saw the results. They're like, what are you doing? I got this like secret software. It's, like I could sell you a license to it, et cetera. So then once I started selling like 25 to 50 licenses while I was still working full time, at nights and weekends working on it, that's when I was like, I told my wife, look, we should hire a salesperson because I didn't want to leave my $1 million gig. And she's like, no, if you're looking to hire a salesperson, like you're the best salesperson I know. I want, like, you should go full time on this. And when we do talk about safety, all the money I made, I was able to save a lot of it, like a few million in the bank. I was able to save a bunch of money. So then we knew like, okay, if I go start this company, I've got a few years of runway that we're going to use that money to invest in ourselves, in the company, which means burning any savings, which means burning anything, because we knew like the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. So went all in on launching Seamless, quit my job. They were super awesome, because they were customers. They're like, look, we get it. Like, we support you. We're going to continue being a customer. And like, we want you to win and be ultra successful. And it was amazing. And then from there, building the software for the next 3 years was really fucking hard. Like that almost killed me and bankrupt me. It took 3 years to build Seamless perfectly. Like, and I, Seamless, when I started, it was a search engine to find every contact and company in the world, and then use AI to research, validate, and verify their emails, their cell phones, hundreds of data points. What people don't know is like Sergey Brin, like Sergey and the founders of Google, they tried to quit and sell the company at $1 million, at $10 million. And they hated building it for the first 3 to 5 years, but no one would buy the company. So they were forced out of necessity so Sergey Brin and his wife, Shannon, are investors in Seamless. So it's just really ironic, like to hear their story about building Google, it being a very complex technical thing to build, and like it almost killing you essentially, and wanting to get out of it, but then no one wants to buy it. And then you become financially free and ultra successful. Trying to build Seamless for 3 years was brutal. The tech would work and then it wouldn't work. It just takes like 100 engineers at the time. And, if I'm bootstrapping the company, I could only afford 3 to 5 engineers. And I'd hire 3 to 5 engineers. They would start building it and they would quit a year in. Because a lot of these people, when you join a startup, they think like, we're going to build the next Facebook, or we're going to build the next Google or LinkedIn in a year or less. People are like, okay, I'll leave a 150, 200K engineering job. I'll get paid 100K, but with some equity. And they think doing that, like, you need to do that for like years, not 1 year and then be like, oh no, I don't like this. I want to get paid more. I'm going to go back to the company that would pay me way more. So every year for 3 years, my engineering team would quit. I'd have to rebuild from scratch, and then ended up raising a few dollars, like roughly $500,000. And that allowed me to like pay 3 to 4 engineers like what they would typically get paid. And then they nailed it. And then we went from, 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 15, 15 to 38, 38 to 45, 45 to 50 mil. And I've done over 250 million in total sales so far. So A lot of times where you almost died, like every year, the first 3 years, 2015 to 2018, almost died every year. And then finally cracked the product, launched it, and it kind of blew up from there.
It's not a surprise what you said, but I want to make sure the listeners understand what you said. Even Sergey at Google, right? They got so frustrated with the building and putting the foundation and the infrastructure in place, whether it was a tech stack that you had to build out with your engineers or for a different business, whatever that foundational infrastructure is. But would you agree that every business has to go through that period of suck, of building the framework properly so that it can properly handle the scale that they want to throw on top of it, right? Because if they don't do the strategic foundational building components first and they just try to scale, the system's going to implode. It's going to break on itself and it's never going to work. And you really don't have anything to sell. But I see that from other business owners. They're in the suck right now of doing the monotony or the minutia of building that thing, whatever that thing is, and making sure it's good so that it becomes attractive for someone else to buy or an exit.
Yeah. I think you could have those hard times too at different times of the business. Like you could have it at the start. Like for us, it was at the start, and then like at like current state, where like everyone's talking about SaaS apocalypse and AI being able to build anything. Like it's interesting to see like a really hard time at the beginning and then like this new transformative time. I wouldn't call it hard, just different now today, because it's much easier to build things. Building software 10, 15 years ago was 1,000x harder than it is now. Like, so comparing the suck now with building software versus the tech that existed 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's definitely way harder 10 to 15 years ago. Now it's easy to build anything, which is really amazing. It's a unique opportunity for everyone. Like an app, like an iPhone app that would take me 1 to 2 years to build, I'll build in 2 weeks.
Or less even, right?
Or less. Like I'll build, I don't like Trello, Asana, Monday, ClickUp. I'll build my own project management that's custom to me and my company. Oh, I don't like my CRM. We'll build our own. Like you could build things very, very fast now. And then it's harder to get tracked because everyone can build more. It's like supply and demand. So when I started, there was no supply, high demand. Like my only competitor was like Dun & Bradstreet and ZoomInfo, and I built Seamless to kill ZoomInfo. And then we launched and we took over all the SMB and mid-market. And it was amazing. Like we built this because their data sucks. They don't have all the people you need to sell to. Seamless has it all. We're amazing. And it worked. It was amazing. Like low supply. Now there's 2 players, Zoom and Seamless, but fast forward to today, now you have the same amount of businesses in the world, but the supply for any software is like 10x. So then you've got this disruption in distribution because supply and demand, now the constraint is on the demand side, not the supply side. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you brought it up, and you're referencing AI and how AI can help speed the creation of a technology build or anything like that. But specific to your business, how do you think AI changes the competitive advantage of sales technology companies over the next few years?
I think for us, it's allowed us to develop features instead of products instead of years into months, features instead of months into days or weeks. So you really just 3 to 10x the speed of development. And this which then presents different problems. Like my engineers were complaining that their code was sitting in QA review for too long because AI helped them develop so much so fast that now the constraint moved from the time it took to develop to the time that it took to review the code and test the code. So it's like, okay, well, how can I use AI to AI and humans to do QA faster. And like, you just see these constraints kind of move to different areas of the business. But in everything, it 3 to 10x is the speed of, I would say, every department, especially engineering, but every department. Like my sales leaders now get automatic call scoring, deal reviews, pipeline reviews. Marketing's automating a ton of marketing work. CS is automating a ton of, like, we've fully automated like 95% of our support tickets. I'm talking like automated via phone, email, chat. Like all these channels are like 95% automated, except for like very few tier 2 and tier 3 cases that a human needs to review. That's crazy. Like my support team went from like 20 to 3. My CS team went from like 100 to 20. So, it's awesome. We love it. And, you just got to go all in on it.
Let me shift gears just a little bit. When the company was small, the problems were probably about survival and revenue, right? As you said, you had to raise some money to hire the guys. But now, what problems have replaced those once the company becomes as uber successful as it has become for you?
Yeah, I think like at the beginning, you don't have any money. Like, so a lot of my competition raised like, or companies in the software space, they'll raise like a $10 million round, a $5 million round, a $20 million round at the beginning. I tried to fundraise for my company for 2.5 years, and I could only fundraise 2.5 million over 2.5 years. Like it took way too long. It was hard as shit. No one would bet on me. They were worried about sales tech at the time, which was 15 years ago, which is crazy. Because then ZoomInfo IPO'd and they were like trading at 75x at the time. Now it's a much different story. But I got lucky because when like it was really hard, like you get to pick your hard now, easy later, easy now, hard later. So for me, it was hard as shit. The worst experience of my life those first 3 years. Like very hard to wake up, and I was working 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week for
Wishing
3
you'd
years
stayed
straight.
back at the other job.
And I didn't pay myself a dime. So for the first 3 years of running Seamless, I paid myself $0 working 7 days a week, times that by 365. Like I took like a total of 12 days off over the course of 2.5 years. Like, and those days off were like Christmas, like Easter, because I couldn't do much work because no one was working. So, but I mentioned that because no one would write the check to invest in Seamless, so I had to bootstrap it. So I owned all the equity. So it was hard, but I earned all the equity. So now all the companies that would raise money, they have to raise a seed round. Every round you give up 20% of your company.
Yeah, dilutes.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It could get as low as 10%, but seed round, you give up 20%. Series A, give up 20%. Series B, give up 20%. Okay, now, and most companies start with 3 co-founders. So now the 3 co-founders own 40% of the business. Split that 3 ways. Like, what is that? Like 13% each or whatever, 13.5% each. Okay. Well, then, ABC. Okay. Now I'm on to D, my D round. And now we own, 5%. And by the way, every round that you raise, the investors have a preferred return. So like whatever they invest in you, if they don't recoup that money back, you don't get paid. So every investor you bring on, like, so if you bring on an investor that puts in 10 million, they got to get 10 million back and then you get money. If you brought on another investor for 25 million, now it's 25 plus 10. Okay, they got to make 35 million back and then the rest gets split up with everyone. Okay, then you raise $100 million at a new valuation. Now you're at 135 million that needs returned before you get paid. So most founders of these tech companies will raise. It looks great on TechCrunch and the news and LinkedIn, but then you see the exits and they don't make any fucking money.
Yeah, and the stress along the way.
Yeah, well, it's easier to build a business raising early, but it's hard to make money long term. So my hard was luckily, like me and like Sergey Brin, no one would buy their damn company. No one would write me the check and invest a few million. So I had to bootstrap the company, take I had to go to level 10 in the video game of business and get my ass kicked every day playing that hard level. But it saved my ass because then with my own money and a very small seed round, I was able to scale it. We went from 1 to 15 million in like 1 to 2 years. And then I skipped Series A, Series B, Series C, and I went straight to growth equity, which is like the D round. So, at that time, I was able to sell a portion of the company for 70 million. And then the majority of that goes to, me and my investors, my employees, and like every one of my founders who are even competitors, they've got way bigger companies, have raised way more than me, and they've made significantly less. And I'm still like, my goal is to still grow the company, scale it, and whether we merge with someone, get acquired, or IPO, I love all three of those. I use data to make decisions. So like the public markets are really bad. So I'd be open to doing more of a strategic acquisition now. But if the public markets go back to 10x, 15x, 20x, I want to IPO. And like based on the data, you change the business strategy. So that's always how I operated. So for 2020 to 24, it was like, I want to IPO. Okay, market shift. Okay, we should try to, eventually we should try to keep growing the company, try to get acquired. But yeah, long story short, it's going through those hard times and making those tough decisions to stay bootstrapped, even though it was out of necessity, ended up making me a lot of money and my investors a lot of money. My local VC firm, Rev1, I got them a 52x return. Just insane. Investors after that got a 17x return. And then the investors in this, we're looking to do way more than that. And it should be huge.
Yeah, hard today, easy later. What keeps you awake today that would have surprised you or the younger version of you?
My lack of ego. So I used to have a big ego. Like I got to be the CEO. I got to be the founder. I got to drive this thing for the first 10 years of the business. And I don't feel that way anymore. I'm just like, whoever's the smartest person to grow this company, get them in here, whether I'm here or not. And like, if I'm ever a blocker, I'll move to chairman and get out of the way. And like, you would never hear me say that in the past. And I don't know if it's just maturity. I don't know if it's like having a kid, because my wife and I just had our first daughter. But Congrats. Yeah, thank you. Like we could have retired in 21, and like stopped working. But I work 7 days a week. I work the same now that I did when I did the company. It's a little less stressful. It's a little more time off. I will say that. Definitely more time off than the no days off for like years straight. But I think that the biggest thing that's changed is like finding the right people with the data today on the business, the market, the landscape, and keep bringing in the people that can transform and grow the business, even if it means replacing myself.
That is a big step. And that is a maturation, I believe, right? But it's not a maturation of age. It's a maturation of just having been through the grind and the suck, and then really having, I believe, a vision for the business more than a vision for yourself, right? And just knowing when you become the block, just step aside, right? I guess my question is, how did you decide? You took the liquidity event, you said 70 million. How did you decide when it was appropriate to take some of that financial risk off the table for yourself?
And it came with like 10 to 15 million dollars of a bank line too. So like if you totaled it up, it's really like 85 million, but we never drew down on the debt line that we had available to us. We kept growing. So I never needed to get more money. I knew when we had the growth Like 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 15 is fucking nuts. Like it's just crazy at that time, right? I think it's still crazy today. But it took years to launch the product to then be able to go from 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 15. So I knew we had like rocket in a bottle. This thing was hot. It was amazing. Like we're going to make a lot of money and investors going to make a lot of money. And like back then, all software companies, like they would fundraise to keep scaling because like at the time when the public markets are giving you a 10x your market cap or a 15x your market cap, it's like, okay, I could spend $1 today that makes like I'll spend $1 to make $1. So I'm basically break even. But the streets say it's worth 10. Okay, well, like I could spend $1 to make 50 cents because the streets are giving me more value even if I'm losing money. So like every software company would just do the math of like the minimum maximum that they could spend to acquire a customer. What was the payoff of that customer based on what they spent, CAC to LTV? And then also look at how companies are being valued. And when I was running it, it was like 10, 15, 20x. So it's very easy to be like, oh shit, this company's worth 150 million or more, maybe 500 million at this time. Let's capitalize on it. Like, let's sell a portion of it, take money off the table, like become secure. Like, you don't operate well when you're starving. Like, so 3 to 5 years, 3 years of paying myself zero, probably the next few years just paying myself like 50 grand a year. You're barely getting by. And then you make, I believe you like sometimes make bad decisions versus like going for it. So like the reason why me and other PE investors like investing, doing secondary, which secondary just means like you've got primary capital and secondary capital. Primary capital, good, like for any listener tuning in, you know, when you do a VC or PE, all VCs mainly just want all the money to go on the primary. They don't want founders or anyone to get any of it, which is fucked up. Like I pitched Sequoia, A16Z, all the top, the guys, who are the guys that did WeWork, S something, I forget. But I pitched all these guys and got offers, term sheets, but they did not want me to take any secondary. I'm like, dude, I'm working my ass off 5 years straight. Like, what do you mean? Like, you want this all to go on the balance sheet into the company? I don't get to take any money off the table. PEs are the opposite. They're like, look, we need a 3 to 5x the business in 3 to 5 years. We don't care. We're going to write you a check for 100 million. I don't care if it's 50 million in primary, 50 million in secondary, whatever. We just need to own a part, like X percent of the company. And I just knew at that time, like, I wanted to take money off the table. I wanted to moonshot, go as big as possible. And I also wanted to not have this like scarcity. I knew to moonshot, you need to feel like, okay, if I moonshot and we lose, I'm still secure. And
yeah, so to that
that's
point,
why I did it.
To that point, how does liquidity change the way a founder thinks to still stay focused on that moonshot?
It takes the stress off of the system because you're so stressed, broke as a founder running your company, that for me, it was like this huge celebration, this huge accomplishment for all the hard work that me, my partners, my investors, customers, everyone put into building the company. And you like get to celebrate, you get to spend some money, you get to pay off some bills, debt, houses, whatever, and make investments. And then it's like, there's nothing else to do besides like blow this thing up. So it just alleviates this like probably stress that anyone has about money and about paying the bills. But like running a company is like, let's just say you work for someone, you've got stress to pay the bills. running your own company with 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people is like, and you're still broke and barely paying the bills. That stress is like 1,000x worse than just working and not having enough money to pay your bills.
Yeah, because you have all those families relying upon you. Yeah.
Everyone relying on you. You've got bills. You've got so much shit coming at you 24/7. So much stress. So yeah, it was awesome. Like I wouldn't do it differently at all. Like looking back, I would do the exact same thing. The only thing I would change for the this podcast, right, where we're talking about wealth, uncommon wealth, is I fucked up a little bit. Like once I got that liquidity, I bought this $10 million house in Florida that almost gets wiped out every year from the hurricanes. And I had to deal with like millions of dollars in damage from these fucking hurricanes. I had $1 million plus in sports cars, like 2 Lamborghinis, a Ferrari, a Bentley, a Tesla Plaid, a Mercedes. Like I really went over the top, and it reminded me of like what my dad did. And the funny part was like, I was still financially free with these things. But then I realized like all my time was wasted. Oh, I got to take this car to the engine light came on. I got to take it to the dealer. Oh, my house in Florida, the pool people are there. I got to let them in. The landscape people are there. I got to let them in. There's something wrong with the fucking AC. I got to hire people, let them in. There's so much work. And I had a house manager. So like I had a house manager, an assistant, a chef, and it was still a massive time suck dealing with all of this shit that they couldn't figure out or do that I also had to be involved in. So then I just got rid of it all. I'm like, fuck it. Get rid of all of it. Because like I realized that what makes me truly happy is growing and building and serving people. Like I had $1 million garage and I didn't drive anywhere because I worked from home. I'm like, this is just stupid. I don't care about any of this shit. Like it was fun. It made me happy for 1 week to 2 weeks. And because I don't care what people think, I just felt like dumb having this stuff. I'm like, I should have just rented it because it got me excited for a week. But then what really gets me excited is building new software, new AI features, things to help people automate their business, sell their business, grow their business. That shit gets me jacked 1,000,000x more than some fucking house on the water. Like I'm in the house on the water and I'm working. I'm not even looking at the water because I'm working all the time. So it's just interesting. Like my financial advisor, my father-in-law told me like, don't buy anything for a year, travel, work hard, see what happens. And if I could go back in time, I would have done that. I would have saved a shitload of money. And I would have saved a lot of heartache. Because I lost millions. I lost millions with the house in Florida with the hurricanes. Bought this house that Tom Brady was going to buy in Florida. It's huge. It was massive. It was amazing. Had it for 5 to 6 years. Every year it almost got wiped out by the hurricanes. Every year it dealt with damage. Insurance doesn't pay shit. No. So you got to pay for it out of pocket. Yeah, dude, I wish I'd never had to deal with that.
I've heard that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that talking with my clients. It's hard telling a business owner that's never had those things, that's always wanted those things, that's always wanted to buy those things, to not do that, right? Because they kind of almost have to scratch the itch. You got to let them scratch the itch. And at some point, they're going to realize it didn't. This doesn't make you happy. Yeah, this isn't what I thought would make me happy. You know, I've got the Bentley, I've got the Lambo, I've got the Ferrari, I've got the second or third house that we can never go to. And it's all busy. Yeah, we're too busy. And damn it. It's a bit anticlimactic. Like you hit the pinnacle of success. You thought it was to get all those things, and it becomes a nuisance more than anything. So you're not the first person. You're not going to be the last person, but it's hard to tell somebody that is just had a liquidity event to not do that. Yeah. It's very hard. At least on the first liquidity event. The second one, they won't do it. If they're lucky enough to get there. Yeah. Yeah. Second one, they won't do it. You just realize like your time is the most valuable thing. So and like family. Things like time with family, time to be able to do whatever you want with whoever you want. So like, I'll never give up having a full-time assistant, having a full-time nanny, having a full-time chef, because that buys me time. Yep. Like I'd rather invest
because now I could use that time to spend with my family. I could use that time to invest in myself, because investing in instead of cooking for an hour a day, now I could use that time to read. I could use that time to work. I could use that time to build my business, not having to worry about the lawn, the cars, fucking groceries, whatever needs done. Whatever needs done, I think buying your time back is the smartest thing you can do over anything.
It's properly applied leverage, right? It also gives you the ability to rest, which is equally as important,
for
right?
Sure.
As doing all those other things. But you're also giving your wife time, right? To manage
100%.
a massive house like that, to keep it clean, to do the laundry, to cook and all that stuff. That takes time away from you, and it takes time away from your daughter. And that's where the money becomes, in my opinion, properly applied. I'll give you an example. My daughters are 15 and 13. I've been married to my high school sweetheart now for 22 years.
Congrats.
Thanks, man. We just took a trip to Cabo. It was a horrible trip.
I was going to say, it's beautiful out there.
It's beautiful. My oldest daughter got severely burned, sunburned on the second day that we were there, to the extent that blisters started forming on her arm. And she stayed under the umbrella, but the sun was so strong, the UV was so strong, it came through the umbrella. That is
wild.
She's fair-skinned. Yeah, man. Fair-skinned, and it just got her. So we have this villa. We're looking at a pool right there in our villa. We're looking at the ocean right there, and we can't get in the water for the remaining part of our week that we're there. This happened on a Tuesday. We're leaving the following Monday. And it was a stressful trip, but I promise you there were so many memories made from that horrible trip that they will talk about it for the rest of their life. But those are the things, right? To give yourself those opportunities to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to jump to an interview that I have to run, but would be happy to just wrap up here real quick.
Yeah, man. I want to keep this conversation going, man. There's so many other things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about how your tax planning is involved, as your income and business value have increased, what you've done from generational wealth planning, things of that nature. I apologize for not managing the time properly.
No, this was good. I forgot to say I've got a hard stop. I'm bringing on a new head of marketing, and we're ramping them up with a transition with our old head of marketing. But I would say, so what you have to do is kind of like what you do with any company. You hire people, smart people around you to do the smart shit. So I got a smart legal team. Luckily my wife is a super lawyer. She's my COO. So her and I work around the clock with the company. And the first thing she did was okay, get estate lawyers, get trust set up, get LLC set up. And then you bring in wealth managers. You almost want to kind of build your own family office in a way. Exactly. And a family office means family office is okay, I'm going to have lawyers, financial advisors, managers, and planners manage my investments. So I'm going to be invested in the market. I'm going to be invested in real estate. I'm going to be invested in, companies, and, they do that. And then also my future end game is not just doing one company, but doing 10, 20, 30, 50 companies. So I want to eventually get into PE and M&A. And instead of only growing Seamless, I want to grow and I want to help scale 10, 20, 50 companies. So whether that means launching my own VC PE firm or joining one, that's my passion now. Continue building Seamless, but another big, you could just scale your wealth the highest, buying and owning and growing companies. I did it with one. Okay, if you could do that with 10, you could dramatically scale your income and wealth. So family office, and then figure out other investments that you could put capital into to scale.
Brandon, thanks for coming on the Uncommon Wealth podcast. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, we'll have to do a part 2. Hopefully, audience, I hope this was helpful. If I could do it, you could do it. I write all these 7 different books to share everything I've learned to help you grow your business. So check out Brandon Bornancin on LinkedIn, on Amazon, and with anyone out there, join Seamless.AI for free to use AI to automate growing your business. If you use the word uncommon, I'll give you in your sign up code, I'll give you 1,000 credits for free, which is a few $100 in credits just to check it out. Seamless.ai, use the referral code uncommon.
And we will make sure we put that in the description section of the podcast so that our viewers can see that as well.